Welcome to the Clean Profits Podcast.
Sit on.
I have with me Ben Hulme here. He is our COO. Welcome, Ben.
Well, hey, thank you. It's great to be here. I've heard so much about this. I'm glad to be included.
We're excited to have you on. Let's start off by learning a little bit more about you. Where did you come from and how did you end up at Zerorez?
Okay, so I don't know if this is a classic Zerorez story, but for me, I love it. I was going through my midlife crisis, right? I was hitting my late 30s. I'd been kind of a corporate America in two jobs. One was in the environmental services industry. And so that kind of gave me an insight into, hey, the potential things that are out there, right? And as I was going through wanting to go from big company to small or owned or family run type of company, I got connected through a mutual acquaintance to the owners of Zerorez of Phoenix. And they'd had that franchise going for a few years at that time. And they built a great foundation. They're on a growth path. They were investing in their business, and they wanted somebody to help manage them to the next level. And luckily, that person was me. I was also interested in starting my own business, and they owned the rights to Zerorez of Tucson, which wasn't opened at that time. And they agreed, hey, if this partnership works out well, then we can then further, you can have the rights to open Zerorez of Tucson. So both those things interested me quite a bit.
Pulled you in. Tell me a little bit more about the midlife crisis piece. Not all of it. I don't need to know all of it. You know about the Corvette and the other things. It's just kidding. But what sparked that change that you wanted when you were working, in corporate America?
Thanks for asking that. I appreciated the work companies I worked for. Each of them I worked for 7 or 8 years, right, separately out of college. And what got me at this time was I wanted to have more influence on a company. Okay, so I'd worked for good companies. They modeled good, corporate leadership and whatnot. And as I was going up the ladder, I just felt like I wanted to put my stamp on a company more, right? Mm-hmm. We'd get corporate initiatives, and most of them were pretty well thought out, right, and good. And some maybe weren't, right, for operations at the local level. But I just wanted to have more influence on a company. Really, that was it. I wanted a company I could, and that didn't mean I thought I could do it all myself, right? But I wanted to be more influential in the process of running a company.
That's some high self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's pretty deep. Usually people just buy sports cars, but...
the gold chain, and I don't have enough chest hair, so I had to just go from big problems or corporate problems to small company problems.
I love it.
It was good.
I love it. Let's dive a little bit deeper into your tenure in Phoenix.
Yeah.
What difference did you make there, and what did it look like when you got there versus when you left?
So 2 great partners there, Casey Ashdown and Nathan Perrins. And like I said, they'd been in the business for years. So such a great foundation. They're investing in the business. They're figuring out marketing. They're figuring out systems and processes. And the year before I got there, they'd done about $2 million in revenue. As over the next 6 years, we brought it from that $2 million in revenue to, I checked the number this morning to make sure it was right, to $9.7 million in revenue.
Woo!
The last full year I was there. And so it was a great journey, right? Because, hey, we had a business concept. It was working. The intellectual property was good. The cleaning was good, right? We had good people. And then it was, okay, so how do we scale this? How do we systematize it? And so the people could come in, learn the process, and we could just keep going and going. And we did. It was a fantastic ride to be a part of, no doubt.
Yeah, those are some incredible numbers.
Yep.
Incredible growth there. What was that? What's the one, you listed a few things off that you did differently, but what was the one biggest contributing factor to that growth?
So you asked for one, but I'm going to give you one overarching one, is working with great people, right?
Perfect.
There's always good people in the business that we were able to hire. After that, I would say having the vision for growth,
mm-hmm.
right? And so saying, hey, this year we did 3 million. What if we did 4.5 million next year? What would that take? What would it look like? What would we have to do now? What would we have to invest in? What would, and just going through all those scenarios of the vision, right? And Nathan and Casey were so good at that. Hey, they believed their company would grow. There was room for it in the market. And if they didn't have that vision, I don't think it would have, right? Like they wouldn't have gone through the process to let it happen. And so at the very front end of why that can happen, it's having the vision and looking at what needs to happen to execute that vision.
it's really hard to come up and be a visionary when you're in it.
Totally.
Right. So kudos to them for taking a time out and taking time to strategize.
Yep. You know, and that's a long process too. It's making personal sacrifices, maybe, and family sacrifices, knowing, hey, with the investment I do now will pay off in the future, and I'm willing to sacrifice time and effort and even money and gains from the business now, so in 2, 3, 5, 10 years it'll be so much better.
Incredible. Well, let's talk about Tucson then.
Okay.
So did you open Tucson simultaneously while you were in Phoenix, or was that after?
It was. So I joined Phoenix one year, and the following year we opened up Zerorez of Tucson. And I had partners in that also, and Casey and Nathan were a small partner in that, which was great for us. So Tucson's down the road from Phoenix, right? Everybody's heard of Phoenix and Tucson. If you're an Arizona native, you know the geography, but Tucson's about 90 minutes south of Phoenix. And so while similar in desert and proximity, it's worlds apart in the type of town it is, right? And the type of marketing that needs to be done and the type of people that are there. And I loved it. I lived in Tucson for years. And so I was aware of those differences. And so as much as you may think, hey, cut and paste, some things convey and some don't. And so Tucson was great, right? We got to get into a new market that was similar and figure out, hey, what's different about marketing here? What's different about the nature of the kind of cleaning people need here? And it was great to go through those variables and click them off and put Tucson on a good growth pattern also.
Let's talk about, we talked about things that went really well in Phoenix, but let's talk about maybe a sticky point in Tucson. Did you run into any? Did you have some hangups or some...
Yes, absolutely. There's all...
Because it sounds perfect. Your story sounds perfect.
Well, the high level turns out good, right? Yeah. But there's definitely a journey in the process with any business. Tucson, one of the things we noticed early is that we needed to, and I think this is good for all small business owners, you need to have a trusted collaborator, right? And that may be a vested partner, it may be a spouse, it may be a friend, it may be somebody in your business network where somebody who is intimately involved with the situation is trusted, right? That could even be a manager that's on the payroll, right? But somebody that can give you good feedback that you could take and learn from and correct. And so if you don't have somebody like that, the small details that make a business scalable and sustainable and profitable in the long term don't get worked out. Maybe overall the business can grow and you could get a certain bottom line. But if you want a well-running business and one that you're maximizing your profit from, you need a trusted partner to do that. One of the great benefits to Zerorez of Tucson was one of our partners, Scott Archon, who worked there. Now, I love Scott, but if you describe Scott and me and made two columns, that hardly any would cross over, right?
He's the opposite.
Yes. In everything, I hope people will say we're hard workers, but other than that, we're probably all opposite. Scott was our partner who lived in Tucson. He moved there for that opportunity. And Scott was a super hard worker. He was really skilled in marketing and networking, and he's charismatic and likes people and likes to help people improve, right? I'm listing all these things thinking if he's the opposite, then I must be the opposite, but that's probably not great on me. But Scott was a great partner, and in the truest sense of the word, where you need differences and a supplemental partnership, he was great with that. And so Scott was kind of our cheat code to having a trusted collaborative partner in the business. We didn't start with Scott down there, and we struggled, and having him come in and being able to supplement our weaknesses with his strengths and vice versa, over time we were able to just continue to grow and work through issues and be profitable.
That had to have been a hard decision to make when you started with down there versus, bringing Scott in. Tell me a little bit about that. When did you know it was time?
Correct, right? So we started with a different management system down there. And, probably all small business owners think this, and all owners of things, you kind of expect people to be as invested as you are.
Yeah.
And of course they're not, right? Because it's your business and your baby and you've thought about it and you quit your job for it and all those things. And so I understand why people aren't as into it as you are. And so as we saw the management team we had down there and the employees, and they were all doing their jobs, but for us to have the company thrive and grow, we realized we were missing some investment from people or from somebody, right? That could be boots on the ground there. And so we could have gone on for years the way we were, but the way we wanted to grow and be profitable, we knew we needed a vested partner down there. And that's where we got the great opportunity for Scott. In addition to its other great qualities, he's also like the greatest industry insider ever. He's worked in so many parts of the business, and that was really helpful also.
Sounds like a dream, honestly. I'm sad that I missed this part.
Well, again, we'll get to the nitty gritty maybe someday, right, on everything and everybody knows that with business, right? Like there's hard conversations and there's hard decisions. I smile when I think of it though, because I got to work with such good people doing it.
Yeah, that's the best part about Zerorez.
That's right.
Tell me about what your exit strategy looked like, because you're no longer in Phoenix. You're here with us, and you are no longer in Tucson, correct?
Correct. So, right, trading corporate from America for family run and franchise business. I loved the ride. I loved getting into it. I loved going into work every day. And there came a time where I figured, okay, we've scaled this thing. We've figured out the systems and processes to make it work. And same in Tucson, a great partnership. They're reaching like where in Tucson, they're reaching the point where the systems and everything were in place for just to run, right? And that's where maybe the challenge of it slightly decreased for me, right? Like I love the business and I love my partners, but okay, what's the next growth thing we can do? And during that, I started getting involved with some corporate help, right? With some marketing and with helping other franchises with processes and systems. And as I got into that side more and more, it eventually turned into a full-time job with corporate. As we brought on a new CEO. When Sean Moon came on, he kind of cast a vision for the company. And with that, he needed people that could execute that vision. And as I talked with Sean, we realized that'd be a good partnership if I started working for corporate full-time. And I started about 5 years ago. And that was part of your question. The other part was the exit for Tucson. So when I started working for corporate full-time, I just didn't want to have a conflict of interest, right? I'm the COO of the company, I'm president over franchising, and I didn't want there to be any perception of favorable treatment or doing it that way to help a partnership or something. And so we valued the business. There was a multiple of EBITDA that we decided on for the sale, and I found a good partner for my other partners to partner with and sold him my shares of the business.
Incredible.
Yep.
And so you went from corporate to entrepreneurship to corporate.
Yes, right. And it's great.
Yeah, I love it. Do you prefer one over the other?
So what I love is building a business, right? And that was what was kind of lacking previous in my corporate life. It was great because you learn some good lessons and you see some some successes and some fails. And then you kind of experience those on your own too, and it gets in a little more. And so what I loved about being a business owner was the ability to grow my own business. So now I kind of get that two times. One is with corporate, right? What's our vision here? Where are we going as a business? What services can we provide? And so I get that satisfaction there. And then we get it with our franchisees, right? You're coming and you're committing and you're investing your money and your time and your future and probably a lot of other hard decisions that we never know about into this business. And now when I say I mean the whole team of people here get to help you grow your business. And so it's kind of double, right? Like there's two things going on: growing the bigger franchisor business, what's next, and then helping a new business owner each time go through that process. And because for me, it was awesome and I loved it. And I get to relive it just a little whenever I see people do it again.
Yeah. What a gift, right? To watch these franchisees come in and grow their business from nothing to something that they can sell off and leave the legacy either to family or to the next person.
Yep. One of the favorite parts of my day, I start most days looking at kind of the revenue numbers across the system. And I love checking on a franchise that opened a year or two ago, right? And seeing the revenue they're running. And then I'll go to our review platform and start reading the reviews that come in. And it's so, and that's so satisfying also, because all of a sudden I get to read, hey, you know, this person in this city did this for me. And it warms my heart, to be cheesy, right? Like to know, hey, they came in, they provided a service that we helped them set up a business for, and they're in it and they love it, and they're providing a great service to somebody who then appreciates it. And lots of times the comments aren't just on the cleaning, right? Like that's what we do, but it's, hey, this person came into my home, they saw this, they shared this experience with me, and then they cleaned my carpets, right? Like, and so it's like much more than just the actual act that got done, but the process and the person that they got to meet.
So you're reading 83 franchises wins every week.
Yeah, totally.
Pretty cool.
Right. And after a while, they may sound even repetitive but like I love it every time because it's still new. And for many of these customers, it's their first time writing it. And can I say one more thing about those reviews?
Yeah.
So we give reviews lots of ways, right? It may be 5 stars on Google or a quick thumbs up or whatever. So these reviews I read are solicited. We send an email after we finish a cleaning.
Yeah.
And these people then respond to that email. So we have almost a 40% response rate to an email solicited review. To me, that's amazing. And then people, sometimes it's a quick, 100 words. Many times it's 2 paragraphs, right?
Wow.
On this. And I'm always amazed by that number because I've never once responded to email solicited review in my life, right? And then all of a sudden we have almost 40% of our, all of a sudden we have almost 40% of our customers who do that. And that to me is a testament in itself of that interaction they want to get. Now, some of these reviews are, hey, something went wrong with my cleaning and I want feedback.
Yeah.
But our NPS is so high that the vast majority of them are, hey, I just wanted to share my great experience with you. And of course, we give immediate attention to the ones that are wanting some kind of resolution or feedback. So,
of course, yeah.
So,
the only time I've ever given feedback is when it has been phenomenal service, right? Phenomenal service and product hand in hand to the point where like somebody needs to know about this, right?
Right? Like
know that their person's doing an amazing
Somebody needs to know, the company, the manager, right? The person, like whatever it may be, the process.
This person a raise.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Talk to me about why you love the Zerorez business model so much. Why does it work?
So after working with Zerorez, so it was great to be introduced to Zerorez. And the only introduction I had to Zerorez was their marketing that I heard on the radio in Phoenix. They had a pretty good presence. And Nathan, who primarily did the marketing there, would come up with these analogies. And they probably kind of hit me because Nathan and I seem to think similar. Mm-hmm. But like I always kind of remembered that, right? Like, so Zerorez was always kind of buzzing in my head. And so when I was first introduced to someone, I thought, oh, I've heard your marketing on the radio, right? When I got into the business, I thought, hey, we're cleaning carpets, right? Like we're going to do a great job. We're going to have a good system. We're going to leave satisfied customers. And it's home services, right? And so much is like the home is like sacred to us, right? Like we don't just let anybody in our home, you don't just let somebody walk. Maybe some people do, right? But like not everybody's comfortable with just anybody entering their home. And so like that kind of hit me as I started getting out in the field and seeing what our service technicians went through. Mm-hmm. But I thought, okay, how is Zerorez doing so well, right? Like what's the secret sauce? And I realized we have a proprietary system where if you follow it, we do a fantastic job cleaning. It's a true competitive advantage for us. And so then I realized, hey, so we get to spend our time training our technicians and frontline workers on interactions with the customer, right? They need to know how to run the equipment and do the cleaning. And there's definitely a training on that. But we don't have to focus on that because it's pretty systematized and it works so well. That also helps us scale. I have many friends in home services who have maybe a great hardwood floor cleaning business or a great tile laying service, right? Or different niches like that. And they work in their business every day and they're hardworking and they make a good living. And I totally admire them for it. But they've always struggled to scale because as they train up a person and teach them the trade, maybe the person loses interest and leaves right after a while. And then they've invested all that time and money into getting that person to a competency. Or maybe the person's like, hey, I can do this myself. They go invest in marketing and a vehicle and tools and start doing it. And with Zerorez, with our proprietary system, somebody can't just rip that off and go do it. Yeah. And so as we train our technicians, they really get to grow with us. And I don't want to make this sound wrong, like we don't invest time in training, because we really do. But we don't have to spend much teaching you how to train certain spots, mixing chemicals, right? And acids and neutrals and how do we dry it correctly? Because the system works pretty well for that. Yeah. Almost all the typical cleaning that's done is with our Zerorez water. All right. We come in, we pre-spray, we brush it, we clean it with the Zerorez water, and that gives an effective, long-lasting, no Zerorez, coming back clean. Yeah. Yeah. And so because of that, we can scale our business with new workers. They can stay with us and they could focus on the other things they like about the job. One of the things we noticed that technicians who stay with us for a long time they like interacting with people in the home, and they like satisfying people in the process, right? So all of a sudden they could go through that without having to stress so much about, hey, can I clean this? Like, is it really clean? And so that lets us really scale the business.
You know what? That's a really great point, because when I was a client of Zerorez before I was also an employee of Zerorez, I liked them coming into my home because the technicians felt so bright and charismatic. And I think it is because they're not so bogged down with, I don't know how to treat this stain. I don't know, what I'm doing. I'm confused. I'm still a little new.
Yeah.
None of that. They came in, they were professional, they were clean, they're kind, and they did want to interact with me, which is so important when you're walking into somebody's home.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when they have children, and it's a mother at home with the kids while the husband's away and she's getting the carpets done. That can be an intimidating thing. And so for someone to come in and build a relationship so fast, and they have the ability to do that because the system is in place, the water works.
Yes.
And so, I didn't realize that, but that's why the technicians are so good.
It is, right? We could focus on many characteristics with who we hire, not just, hey, can they memorize these formulas, right? And do this. And let me share with you the time when I decided I'll never doubt Zerorez again.
Oh, yes.
So I've been with Zerorez for a couple of years at this time. And always a little bit, you're like, okay, is it going to work? Like, is it going to work this time? Right.
Yeah.
And we had a fantastic marketing staff in Phoenix, and they do fun stuff like Can It Clean, right? And stuff like that. So I've seen it clean so many things, but we wanted to do a kind of a grand opening for a new location we were doing. And so we got a white carpet and put it in our warehouse. Now this warehouse has forklift traffic. It's right where the technician staff of 40 technicians are walking every day. The warehouse staff, we clean cars or we do preventive maintenance for the vehicles. They're like right in the heart of our warehouse. We put this white carpet down. It's about 10 by 10. And we put a little time-lapse GoPro above it, right? And so for a month, we just got that thing dirty, all right? We got it dirty, got it dirty, just whatever came through, right? Like we didn't care. Mm-hmm. There's oil drips on it, right? Tons of foot traffic, vehicle, like tires, like going across it, everything. So we have this grand opening and so we bring out this carpet to clean it. And still in my mind, I'm thinking, is this the time it doesn't work, right?
Please.
Is this the time? Did we go too far? And so we're in the parking lot for a grand opening, right? The Chamber of Commerce is there, and everybody. And we had a van there, and our technician manager at the time was the one who was going to clean it. And we do something that's called a stripe, right? We pull it right down the middle. That way you can see the comparison of, the dirty carpet on the left and the right. And he gets out, and I'm still like, just like that 1%. Is this the time, right? Everybody's watching, and he pulled, yes. He pulls a stripe right down the middle, and it was perfect, right? And so, there's some stuff we have to treat, right? Specialty treatments for specialty stains. Yeah. But that was the time I'm like, I'll never doubt our cleaning process again. Yeah. I'll just expect it to work every time. And I've been proven right on that. And so yes, it does work. It's such a true competitive advantage for us.
Wow. What I love is that you let the carpet sit there and get dirty for weeks, right? Anytime there's a test done, and carpet's big, let's throw some dirt on it.
Yeah, sure.
Just sitting there on top. I'm not too worried about it. But for you to really would be a high traffic piece of carpet, and it came that clean fast.
It was real, and it was white.
Oh my gosh.
It was great.
That's incredible. Well, it sounds like you were the ideal candidate to own a Zerorez. When you're thinking of an ideal candidate, for our system, somebody who will come in and have the success that you've seen as an entrepreneur, give me 2 characteristics. What do they need to have?
So one thing, you have to be willing to initially work in the business. Now, there's different people that come in, right, to buy franchises. Some are going to be owner-operators and be on a truck from day one, and maybe their market, like that's what they're doing. There may be others that come in more from the investor side of, hey, I want to come in and build this over years, right, and hire people. And in both cases, it's imperative that you work in the business for those early years. For the same reason we needed a vested partner in Tucson, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to work through every detail. Now, we provide a ton of systems, right, and all that. But for your local business dynamic, you need to be in the business and know how that fleshes out. And then, you could pick your involvement after that, right? I'm going to be in marketing, right? Or I'm going to be high level on operations, or I'm going to care about like how the trucks are maintained. Like you could kind of after that separate, but initially you need to be in the business.
Yeah.
Another background that's very helpful is if you have seen businesses grow and or fail, right? And so that could be from a corporate background. It can be from, hey, I worked for other people coming out of high school background. I never like to get into the education side of it too much, because we have total successful owners that went to high school and graduated and started a franchise, and others who have MBAs from prestigious universities, right? And everywhere in between. But the background to have worked in a business, to see stuff that works and doesn't, and be willing to work in those early years is critical.
Yeah. Have either examples of good leadership or bad leadership.
Totally, right? Like, same with me, right? Coming from what do I want to convey in my business, and what do I want to do complete 180 on and do totally different?
Yeah. Yes. Well, as a leader in this organization, let's close with your definition of what leadership is.
Oh boy. So, I've had a good mentor here of what good leadership is. Our CEO, Sean Moon, does a great job with this. And so I try to lead in the way that he's led me. And by that, it's creating a vision and sharing that, right? Making sure people understand what that is. Hey, where are we going and why, right? And then as you get a great team, is keeping the path clear for them to do their job as good as they can. Mm-hmm. I love being in the details of a business, and I have good experience in certain parts of it. And because of that, I think I could recognize when people are so much better at their job than I could ever do it. And so I love getting great people that can do a great job and keeping the path clear for them, right? We all need to be pointed the right direction. We all need to know what the vision and the destination is, but then to keep that path open so they can come in and do a fantastic job is what I appreciate in leaders that have done that for me. And there's so much job satisfaction that comes from that, right? Mm-hmm. Like I get to see, wow, all these people are doing such a fantastic job that I could never do. And from the flip side, as I'm in that role also, right, I get to figure stuff out, right, and implement it and contribute in a meaningful way to a company. And like, there's tons of satisfaction from that also.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned about you is that you live that truthfully, right? You're like, here's your tools and I'm going to get out of your way. And I trust that you're going to do it, which can be scary.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate it as an employee here at Zerorez.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, Ben.
You got it. Anytime.